Maayong aga sa inyo. Welcome again to today's Tourism Congress webinar. This morning we will be focusing on Western Visayas. And the theme for today is Western Visayas tourism rising up to the new normal. As in our previous webinars, we are so privileged to have a high powered cast again, similar to what we had last week with Bohol. And we are looking forward to very good discussion today on what are the goings on in Western Visayas, including the areas of Iloilo and Boracay, which are some of the more popular destinations that we have. So, going right into things, I would like to introduce our guests for today. And we are privileged this morning to have Regional Director Attorney Helen Catalbas of Department of Tourism Region 6 with us this morning. Good morning, Director Helen.
Good morning, Jojo.
Yeah. And then we also have with us Miss Cleo Albiso, who is the chairman of the Iloilo Mice Alliance and Group GM of Mega World Hotels. Good morning,
Hello,
Cleo.
good morning. Good morning, Jojo. Good morning, everyone.
And of course, we also have Mr. Edwin Raimundo, the president of the Boracay Foundation Inc., who is also the COO and the general manager of Paradise Garden Resort Hotel and Convention Center. Good morning, Edwin.
Hi, good morning, Jojo, and good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Good morning, Director.
Good morning, Edwin. Good morning.
And last but not the least, we also have Mr. Peter Tay, who is the managing director of Boracay Adventures Incorporated and also one of our board members in the Tourism Congress of the Philippines. Good morning, Peter.
Hi, hello everyone. Nice to be here today.
Good. Yeah. It's Thank you very much to all our speakers today for giving us the opportunity to have a chat with you this morning. And I'm sure that we will have a very good discussion for all our viewers. So, diving right into it, we would like to hear from Director Helen with regard to an update as to what's happening in Region 6. So, Director Helen, please take the floor.
Good morning, everyone. Hello, fellow speakers. Thank you, Tourism Congress of the Philippines, for having me here. Let me go direct to the point. First slide, please, of my topic by giving a brief situationer of Region 6 Western Visayas tourism at about this time in 2019, the height of the summer season. Western Visayas is composed of more than 200 islands, was selling like no other during the summer season. It had always been a season of grand MICE projects until this COVID-19 pandemic happened and the winning streak became a thing of the past. My first slide is on the 2019 Western Visayas tourist arrivals, which shows a total of 5.8 million contributed by 6 provinces: Aklan, Antique, Capiz, Guimaras, Iloilo, Negros Occidental, and 2 highly urbanized cities, Bacolod City and Iloilo City. These many warm bodies contributed roughly 131 billion to the regional economy. Slide 2, please. Based on historical data, the Western Visayas region missed 1.14 million tourists, estimated at 40 billion tourist receipts since March lockdown. Slide 3, please. Next slide. There have been a few thousands of foreign, next slide, please, foreign and Filipino tourists stranded in Western Visayas region since March 17. But the Philippine government, through Department of Tourism, Tourism Promotions Board, headed by Secretary Bernard Romulupuyat, the local government units, the foreign embassies, have brought home majority of these stranded tourists. 2,813 tourists composed of 2,516 foreign and 297 Filipinos were evacuated through 9 DOT initiated flights and 42 DOT assisted flights and routes out of at least 3 airports in the region: Iloilo International Airport, Calibo International Airport, Bacolod Airport, and Caticlan Airport. There are still 641 foreign and 341 domestic tourists, or total of 882 registered tourists stranded in Western Visayas as of yesterday. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This slide shows the various services extended by DOT Region 6, from the provision of transportation support for transfers to the airports to actual financial assistance. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Slides 5, 6, and 7, the next 3 slides, show the rehabilitation and recovery plan for Western Visayas for the second quarter or second semester 2020, the whole of 2021, 2022, and 2023. But I'll focus more on the problems, issues, challenges, including the following. Number 1, evacuating of remaining stranded tourists from the region. A health and wellness of tourism frontliner. Number 3, next slide please, accelerating recovery of hardly hit workforce in the tourism industry. And then number 4, responding to the need in rebuilding tourism communities. Number 5, managing risk and crisis in the tourism sector. And number 6, livelihood enhancement for displaced tourism workforce. These are interchangeable. These concerns are interchangeable. This plan has been submitted to the Regional Development Council of Western Visayas and NEDA Region 6 for inclusion in bigger Western Visayas Regional Rehabilitation and Recovery Plan covering the same period. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yes. What then is DOT Region 6 doing from March 17 lockdown to the end of 2020? The Department of Tourism Region 6 has 6 deliverables. Number 1, on the planning side, we now have 8 tourism development plans crafted by the Department of Tourism in cooperation with the local government units of the 6 provinces and 2 highly urbanized cities. These plans include projects that will answer some of the issues in the issues, challenges, and concern side of this presentation. Accreditation. In the area of accreditation, there will be, or there is now going on, an accreditation renewal on web. We used to call this accreditation renewal on wheels, but now all applications and other requirements will be online. There will be no more inspection for the renewals, but for the new applications for accreditation, there will be self-assessment that will be given to the applicants. All accreditation fees are waived, so no fees on the part of the tourism establishments. On the product of market and product development, of course, we have projects that as soon as restrictions will be loosened up, we will have the Experience Western Visayas first campaign, which I originally presented to the Boracay stakeholders on March 12, before the lockdown. We have 8 million resident population in Western Visayas. And if we only target 20% of them to be traveling within the region, then it will not be difficult to fill up our accommodation establishments, and other tourism-related entities that offer facilities and services to the market. Our primary market, of course, is our population. As I have said, our market we have to develop. We are into massive information campaign among our population. Information on history, culture, upcoming events, when the dawn breaks, and many other things. So now, side by side with actual person-to-person engagement, which has become very rare nowadays, Department of Tourism Region 6 will be hosting the Western Visayas Film Festival online. This is the product of our 8 years of engagement with the filmmakers of Western Visayas. We will be putting them online for proud of place for the Western Visayans and for the world to see what we have to offer in terms of attractions and facilities, considering the local of the films. So in terms of manpower capacity building, we have webinars, no? Those initiated by the Office of Industry Manpower Development of the DOT Central Office, and those that are initiated by the Department of Tourism Region 6. This, in a capsule, is what I have to present to our audience this morning. I'm leaving enough time for questions, please. Thank you. Next slide for the thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Helen. Very comprehensive presentation. A lot of things that people may not have realized that has been going on, even though we are in lockdown. So, um, good to know. We will come back to you later on after all the presentations for our Q&A. So, thank you very much. Now we would like to call on Ms. Cleo Albisa to talk to us about what's happening in another hotspot in the region, which is Iloilo City, which we were seeing some gains just prior to the pandemic. So, Cleo, please tell us what's going on in Iloilo.
Thank you so much, Jojo. I actually am here to share and walk everybody through Iloilo Mice Alliance and how we've started and how we are now given this pandemic. And also another organization that I'm very passionate about, which is Mega World Hotels. So good morning, everybody. First, I'd like to request everyone to give a virtual applause to TCP, the Tourism Congress of the Philippines, Tourism Congress Philippines, for coming up with regional level webinars like this. I think this is a very good way to go in depth where everybody is really heard on the regional level. I have been talking about in the past year about Meet You in Iloilo, and to give everyone a background of this organization, we were created with so much collaboration from the private sector and the government. We were spearheaded by USEC Arc Bocato, ASEC Rica Bueno, and of course, our regional director, Helen Catalbas. We were very lucky that this came about in the nudge of no other than Senator Franklin Drilon. So we had so much support. In fact, when our current mayor, Jerry Treñas, sat, he immediately created another MIAS center to support all the efforts. So we all collaboratively did everything, knowing that the only way for us to give business to many sectors was to capture the MICE business with a goal of creating Iloilo as the next premier MICE destination, trying to capture some business that used to be provided to Manila for MICE business. Manila, Cebu, of course, Davao was also a strong hit for MICE. And that was everything that we were working on last year. And I'm gonna show you this. This is part of the efforts. These were some of the collaterals we were making. We actually created a MICE Iloilo guide last year. This could have been very substantial, but now in the new times, we have to say that if you go to the next slide, it is going to be answered with a smile. Jay, if we can go to the next slide and show the photos, please. If we are asked, do you miss these interactions? Our answer would probably be definitely, right? I'm showing here the MICE Alliance members and those that have been actively giving us the support to make the MICE Alliance really doable. We realized in this group, if you have to show the next photo, Jay, that we cannot be marketing our respective brands only. We had to do it collaboratively, talk well about Iloilo. But then how do we sustain that? If you go to the next slide, given this pandemic, with everyone really faced with all the hardships and challenges that we have at hand, we know that not all of us are really ready to go on with the new trend. It can be depressing. It can be very frustrating, especially for business owners. It can be very disheartening for even leaders in a company, especially the employees, when there's so much uncertainty within us. We don't know how long our jobs are going to last. We don't know how long our companies are going to be able to sustain us. All these questions really bug us and can hamper creativity. But then I would have to say that there are a lot of people who are very willing to extend help, help us go through this motion and journey where we have to totally face the new pace, the new norm of diversifying and embracing what else do we have to do. And in the MICE Alliance, while we encourage everyone to keep hanging on, we did ask the same question of how does the organization stay relevant in these very desperate times. So we go to the next slide, Jay. We did some brainstorming on how to stay relevant, and the answer was really to go online and digital. We know that the MICE business is not going to be present. We did think that the formula we had with the collaboration of the private and the public sectors and all the support that the local and the national government was giving us was really going to be a big hit for this year. But here we are now faced in a pandemic where we can't expect the conventions that were scheduled to be materialized. And the uncertainty of having it this year, we all have to embrace that. In fact, being able to hold that even in the middle of next year remains very bleak and not sure. So how do we stay relevant? We've decided to really create some presence in social media on the digital platform. We did say that we may not be able to capture finances and revenues in what we're doing now, but we will be present for each one. So I think I can create an analogy of all these efforts being, vitamins and exercise. You don't really get to see the end result or effect of it immediately, but you know that it's giving you strength. So we are trying to stay as relevant as that and be supportive and collaborative amongst all members so that we know that we have each other to run to. It can just be a weekly meeting where we discuss our struggles, our challenges, some insights. Of course, more heads are always better than one. So we try to be that. And the next slide will show you how we've quickly try to embrace how we can be more relevant. Instead of meet you in Iloilo, perhaps for the balance of the year, up until early next year, we are going to meet you in Iloilo. Definitely. And I'd like to segue this talk before I go to Mega World Hotels, that there are 10 GMs that we have at hand for Mega World Hotels. But the one thing, despite the variances and differences of the revenue that are put in, because you can't compare the properties in Iloilo and Boracay to the level of revenue that Manila is still able to capture, and even Cebu is able to capture because of seafarers and BPO workers being housed in our hotels. The one thing that I always look forward to when we have our GM's meeting is when our GM Natalie of Richmond Hotel, when she gets to share, which is a common experience amongst the private sector in Iloilo, how they collaborate with Mayor Jerry Trenyes, how inclusive Mayor has been, and I think a lot of our organizations have been they have all been acknowledging this inclusiveness that the mayor is doing. It all depends on the local government as well. Having the voice, having been being able to pitch in what the private sector really feels. We have the Iloilo Chamber, the PCCI, we have the Iloilo Mines Alliance. The mayor gets to really consult all the sectors so that all the decisions prior to coming up with an administrative order really encompasses all sectors. And I think that's really something that Iloilo will have to be very proud about given this pandemic. So I'll walk you through the next slide, please. I'll try to segue coming from that discussion to Mega World Hotels, my current organization. And if you open the next slide, it will show us how it has been throughout these 2 months of being in a quarantine and lockdown. This may not be the visibility that we have in the Region 6. This is what's happening in our properties in Manila. We have been hosting seafarers, OFWs, employees of BPOs, as well as logistic companies. There were a lot of confusions and questions initially, but the truth is, when Yusek Art Boncato said this, it was really something that stuck in our minds. He said, at this period, it will have to be bayan muna. Next slide, please. And it doesn't end in how we do things now. There are also a lot of things that we have to put in place so that when we re-enter post ECQ, there also are a lot of the precautionary measures that we have in place. And part of that is being able to do rapid testing for our employees. So we do not waste all the days where we all sacrificed by being able to really look into how else are we going to create that safety filter, safety protocol, so that we lessen the contamination, we get to protect our employees, and we get to protect our guests. And the next slide also will tell us how we have survived throughout this time. And yes, it can only be through taking care of our employees. If we look at this, these are the efforts that we do. It may come in looking very simple, but we want to express to our employees and associates that, hey, we might be going through these very difficult times, but we're with you. This is how much care we have for you. And this goes in a program that we call our Circle of Happiness. And you see in that photo, our very dynamic GM of our area general manager of our Boracay properties, GM Roland. If we go to the next slide as well, we have not stopped reaching out to our guests. We have made sure that even in this difficult and challenging times, we do email blasts. And I think it's everything that people can really apply. We document our disinfecting and sanitation efforts to give the people reassurance that this is how much effort we have to sanitize our hotels. We do a lot of social media posts and links to HIIT, workout, and even shared playlists for relaxation to our guests, so that they know that despite the limited amenities, we are here and we truly care and we want to host you as much as we can. And our last slide is how much we have put in despite the limitation of resources into reaching out to our community, especially our frontliners. I'd like to end this discussion by saying this has really been a blessing. I have seen segueing to the meetings that we have with our general managers, the one person I also look forward, despite having no business in Boracay, is the update coming from our area general manager, Roland Galano. And this is when, despite not having that revenue, he is able to remain relevant and stay important in that organization by sharing to us the things that he is able to do with his employees and associates, as well as the community. And I'd like to really applaud GM Nat and GM Roland for being able to do this. More than anything, it's our adaptability to change that will keep us afloat for both organizations, either Iloilo Mice Alliance as well as Mega World Hotels. Thank you, Jojo.
Very comprehensive and passionate presentation. We appreciate it. And like the other speakers, we will come back to you towards the end for the questions that our viewers may have. So now we go on to our next speaker. We have Mr. Edwin Bautista from Paradise Garden and sorry, Edwin Raimundo. Edwin Bautista is a friend of mine. Sorry, Mr. Edwin Raimundo from the Boracay Foundation. Sorry, Edwin, my fault, my bad.
Problem, no problem.
And my friend from Paradise Garden. Sorry, the days are getting longer for me. So Edwin, please take the floor.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I have also a presentation that was from the Boracay Foundation Incorporated before before this COVID thing that happened. The BFI already have been doing such operations, and this is what we call the COVID-19 programs and operations. That is before, no? Before we have this COVID-19. So on the first slides, first page, please. Yeah. Last February 1, 2020, in coordination with the Aklan Provincial Health Office and was attended by different stakeholders in the island for the orientation and public awareness on 2019 COVID coronavirus. This coronavirus. This was before, no? Before. That was as early as February. And then at the same time, the BFI Social Media Information Drive in coordination with our Aklan Provincial Health Office and local government units of Malay Municipal Health Office regarding COVID-19 updates. And then it was followed last February 15, BFI Kapihan sa Boracay. It's a monthly, it's a monthly kapihan. And then every month, the show that focuses on current events in the municipality, discussion with our acting mayor, Edwin Bautista, and our municipal health office nurse, Madel Joy Taiko, about the status and update and preparation of the LGU of the COVID-19 in this municipality. It was followed last February 27, the second board meeting, the directors of the BFI and members discussing on the stakeholders' concern and preparation for the COVID-19. As you can see, as early as that February, the island of Boracay, with the collaboration with the LGUs and the mayor's office, we've been discussing this already as early as February. But I've said we've been waiting for the updates or any guidelines coming from the NCR and coming from the Department of Health, which is the lead agency of this pandemic. So it was followed on March 29, April 15, on April 15, the Bureau of Fire and BFI and other association road cleaning operations. All the members have donated the sound rocks to clean the streets, and which was performed by Admiral Tirol, which is also one of our board of directors. The cleaning effort was headed by the Boracay Action Group, the BFRAV, Commander Leonard Tirol with our BFI board assistance and donations of disinfectant chemicals. It was followed last May 2. Our board, headed by the chairman, Junicio Salme, and me as president of BFI, collected and donated to PPE, protective suits for frontliners in the island, which composed of 5 medical facilities. Not only protective equipment, but also masks, no, face masks. Yeah, even we give some hotels have donated shower cups, and even us we donated soap that we haven't been using it for how many months already. So rather than it must be stuck in our stock room, we donated for this uh, event. On May 6, we have also collected the donations again from the different members of the BFI and non-BFI members, like sacks of rice. We have collected around 50 sacks of rice, and that's been distributed to three barangays, which is from Barangay Manok Manok, Barangay Yapak, and Barangay Balabag. And the first thing that we have given our donations, the fisher folks, that we gave them sack of rice, and then at least around 800 sacks of pack of rice, no, that we have donated, that we have distributed for these members. And relief efforts shall continue as as our members are still continue contributing all these essential needs of the island, with the collaboration of our beloved Mayor Bautista, and he's also assisting us for such giving us also other donations such as sacks of rice and other things that which is other essential, which can be used by the island of Boracay. So from the side of our management from Paradise Garden Resort Hotel and Convention Center, what we did, as what director have said before, not only tourists was stranded here, but also workers from other provinces such as Iloilo, Capiz, Aklan, and Rojas. Some of the staffs here, no, in the island was locked down, and on our side, which I'm speaking on behalf of the of our hotel, that we accommodate some of our staff that was locked down here in the island. So we billeted them. We billeted them in our hotel. Also provided them shelters, food. At the same time, we opened the salary for them in a monthly basis. No, the good thing also with that is that we utilize also our staff to clean our hotels, especially the guest rooms. We sanitize each area, the public areas, and not only that, if you will, we've been starting as early as now things that we have to prepare once we open. Just like this one, I'll show you a mask. No? It is a mask composed of a face mask and a eye mask. So which will be wear by our staff, especially the frontliners, no? Because we've been studying about the front desk, if we're going to put up a plastic, but rather using this, which is very viable and very easy for our staff, and then to communicate with our guests. So uh, every what we're doing is that we've been uh, uh, pencil pushing things that we have to use, no, or to update our facilities for this pandemic. I hope that we can find, no, a vaccine for this, so everybody can visit their loved ones and we can go back to a normal life again, and not to be a new normal, but to the normal life that we are moving around every day. And not only that, no, not only in the front office that we do some sanitation or updating our facilities, but also in the other FMB departments such as restaurants. We've been rearranging our restaurants already. Rather than having a setup of 100 capacity, we turned it down to 40% capacity. And so in case that the island will be ready to open, everything in our side will be open, and our staff will be also be happy that there will be again a life, a new life for them in this island. So that will be all, Jojo. Thank you very much.
So,
Wala.
Edwin, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Arthur. We've been through a lot the past couple of years now, so I think Boracay will continue to be resilient, and it's good to know that things are still happening on the island for everyone. So we'll come back to you again a little bit later for some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
And last but not the least is we have Mr. Peter Tay, the owner of Boracay Adventures, and also our board member of Tourism Congress. Please, for your presentation.
Yeah, it's so good to be here this morning. I don't really have a slide presentation, but I'd just like to congratulate DOT and Tourism Congress for organizing all these webinars. Because for the last few months, in fact, that during the lockdown, I've been looking at a few webinars, especially one from the Filipino hospitality by Mr. Martin. It was a very good presentation. And for us, the tour operator and travel agency, of course, we are also greatly affected by this situation. We really hope that things will get improved. For 2020, we are not even thinking of even making money or anything. 2020 will just be a year of survival. We just have to go through this period. All right. Of course, right now the quarantines has been downgraded in Auckland. We hope that we will also be given a set of guidelines as to what to do next. Because with this guideline, we will be able to know. In fact, our company have a few information. All right, people are requesting for making advance booking, and I say sorry, I can't accept any booking at the present moment because we really don't know what is going to happen in the next couple of months. So at the moment, I'm not accepting any bookings. But if DOT is or the government is able to give us a set of guidelines as to what we can do and cannot do, then at least we have an idea. And next will be, we've been busy with working on our websites and improving on our social medias to prepare for the coming when it's going to open. And sorry, I also like to mention about to improve on social distancing. I'm presently actually stuck in Singapore, all right, and we are actually developing robots or equipments that will actually help to monitor things such as the person. At the present moment, you will see that a lot of people is using the thermometer gun to even measure the temperature of a person. Now, in the days to come, we may even consider of having equipment such as a platform, a robot that can scan your temperature even from a distance. All right, and these are a few things that we are presently developing in Singapore. And yeah, thank you, Joe. Joe.
Good to know. You're doing well, and sorry that you're stuck in speakers.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, if you can bring back our speakers. Anyway, while we're waiting for them, I have a question for you, Peter. Uh,
Yes.
oh, here we are. Peter, what advice would you give stakeholders on how to make it through times like this?
During this time, it's very good to prepare. So, like things such as people who have not gone into online bookings, they may consider in developing their websites, improving their social medias, so that when the market is open again, then they are actually ready, for the days to come. Yeah. So
Okay.
also during this time, attend training. Like for example, DOT has organized a lot of different training program. So, I mean, online webinars. So it's good that the stakeholders may even take this time instead of being sad about the situation that nobody can do anything about it. So why not take this opportunity to go and study, to improve yourself, and do whatever things that can be done.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Uh, Director Helen.
Yes.
Um, aside from the new normal procedures that we're expecting, no, um, is there anything else we can expect in terms of innovations as far as the region is concerned?
Oh, yes. Since virtual is now the one of the names of the game, we are coming up with virtual tours in all destinations of Western Visayas. We are hoping to launch this if things do not miscarry by first week of June. There's a lot of technicalities involved here, and it's going to be very challenging, especially if we do it in six provinces and two highly urbanized cities. But with the help of everyone in Region 6, I'm sure we can do it. Thank you.
Yeah,
That's one thing.
yeah, we've been hearing about the digital aspect also. No, some destinations are not doing virtual tours with uh, with tour guides that are actually conducting the tour, which gives them a little bit of income during this time. Excuse me. We'd be
In,
very interested to know how Region
yeah.
Six will be doing.
Yeah, and another thing, Jojo, we are coming up soon, I think next week, with the filmmaking seminar, webinar also, with the different tourist attractions and facilities involved. Also, it's going to be a 3-day webinar, and also culinary seminars online conducted by our top mice personalities in Iloilo City. And
Yeah,
we want this to be radiated all over the region. And if other regions are also interested and other foreign audiences are interested, they are also welcome. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, very good. Another question for Director Helen, no, from Jana Belgas, one of our members and the members of Philtoa. He was saying, while we cannot sell travel for now, can we ask assistance from DOT Western Visayas to ship their local products to Manila so we can sell it? People are,
Yes,
I guess, are craving for your products to be brought here to the capital region. So, if there's any way that we can do that, it would be very much appreciated by a lot of people, I suppose.
yes. As of the moment, we have supposedly, if not for the COVID-19 pandemic, we should have the second day of the Manggahan Festival already in Guimaras. But now we opted to sell the mangoes online. We just have a designated pickup at the wharf of Iloilo City, considering that Guimaras is still COVID-free up to now, and they also would want to protect the health of their 200,000 residents. And the whole region is listening right now through the provincial and city tourism officers, and that question will be aptly answered by them. Just give us the address and the contact details, and in less than 1 week, we will have it shipped. Considering that there are Roro trips from Katiklan to Batangas, no,
Yeah.
via Go and Starlight. And also there are trips through our other ports, Iloilo and also Bacolod. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. At least we know that we can get the products. Let me go to Cleo. No? You had a very good presentation earlier, and one of the questions that we have is that what aspect of Iloilo would you focus on to convince people to come when all is ready?
I think what the place can really banner on is how they are able to address this pandemic and how organized the collaboration of LGU, DOT, as well as the private sector really is. Because when we come into that phase where people can travel again, I think the first thing that people will have in mind is how safe am I going to be when I go to a certain place? All these administrative orders by the LGU will come into play. How the details are looked into. Example, when they want to go to a hotel, what are the things that are in place as safety protocols? And when the LGU is able to reinforce that, and I've been saying this in um, the most part of my talk, that I think Mayor Jerry Treñas, as well as the governor, Governor Defensor, has been in good works to make sure that that happens. So that will be one and the top criteria. While we are not looking at really going back to how we would market the place in the next few months or even a year, while that sounds really scary for a business, but it is what it is. We have been saying that the plans will have to be very fluid because it's moving, and we'll all just have to be flexible in addressing that. But security and safety is my answer to it, Jojo.
Okay, good. I think that's the first things that people will look for when they choose a destination is how safe it is or how healthy
Mhm.
certain places and how it can really help to prevent or at least to prevent the spread of the virus. No, what safety protocols are in place. Now I have a question for Edwin. No, and maybe Cleo, you can chime in on this a little bit after Edwin. Of course, the concern now is how will the rates look like, whether it be the airfare, the resorts, the hotels, considering that some costs will now be imputed, no, as far as what we anticipate as new protocols and guidelines like PPEs, face masks, sanitation materials. So I'd be very interested to find out what your outlook is or what your prediction is as far as costs will be concerned, or how rates will be once things are reopened.
Well, first of all, as what Director Helen has presented, no, it's quite too scary when because she's telling until 2023. No? Medyo mahirap yun. So I hope that it will not last that too long. Now, in terms of cost, no, definitely there's a cost for that. But I've said the main task of tourism right now is how can we entice the people to travel. No? It's because of this pandemic. Even though there are so low risk and the graph is going down, but the main concern is it safe to travel? Even if we start opening our market to local markets, no? How prepared is the airlines? How prepared is our domestic international airport in terms of domestic flights? No, so these are the things that we have to consider in terms of costing. Well, definitely, just like us, we are absorbing all these costs. And in terms of room rates, I don't think that we have to increase our room rates right now because, first of all, how can we increase it if the people are not, safety or not doesn't want to travel because of their health? So we will maintain that, no, the rates at as what my director of sales. We've been discussing this for how many months already. No, she even my director of sales, Miss Vida Candelaria, she's been discussing this to me, and then we've been studying it. Are we going to increase or not? Since we have to see first the market, how what will be in other words, what will be the market will say to the new normal thing that we are talking, no? And as long as that's why as long as we are prepared for this new thing, that so that we can absorb all of this, uh, for me, no, for me, I don't think that we have to increase the room rates for this time. The only thing that we have to do is how to give and let the guests feel that they are safe here in Boracay, not only in our property but the whole island itself. That there's nothing to worry about it. That's the first thing that we have to do, and that's why we've been coordinating most of the time with the LGU and the Boracay Foundation, also coordinating with the LGU and the Office of the Mayors. That how can we collaborate each other, find ways and means to bring back the market. Kasi when we say we want to bring back the market, we're not talking of 100% market. probably we might be hitting around 40% or 30%. The high is around 50%. That's what I see, no? That's what I see. Because the thing that I usually monitor the news, not only here in local in the Philippines but also in the US. The way I see it is that uh, it's so difficult to make some prediction, not unless we can find a cure or a vaccine for this pandemic, and that's the time we can do arrangements and we can, you know, do some adjustment based on a daily status of what's happening around the world, not only to us. That's my the way I think it. That's my perception, the way I look at it, Jojo.
Okay. Thank you very much, Edwin. No, being a tour operator and someone also that watches the news, we also have to remember that we are not only competing with the destinations within the country as far as
Exactly.
where people
Exactly.
will prefer to go, but we will also be competing with other destinations around the region once traveling starts. So we have to
Precisely.
remain competitive.
In fact, Joe, in addition to that, you know, Boracay and Iloilo is just near to each other, no? And
Yeah.
that's also international airport, which we Boracay can complement on that. At the same time, it's vice versa, no? Even Calibo. So these are the things that we can collaborate also with each other, because I've said we're not talking of 100% market. We might be hitting around 30 to 40% when we open the tourism industry.
Okay, thank you very much. Peter, going back to you. Earlier, Director Helen discussed virtual tours, and it's something that's going on. People are starting to do it, no? How feasible do you think it would be for Boracay to get into virtual tours? You're muted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was saying that Boracay is an island, so most of the activities is really experience. You really need to experience it physically, you know. So for virtual tour in Boracay, it may not really work. Uh, but we are not comparing ourselves to like places like in Iloilo where there's a lot of historical and cultural places that you can go to. For Boracay,
Yeah.
it's really experience. We really need to be there to experience it. So it's really good if, for example, the government or DOT can actually give us a guideline as to what we can do for island base, you know, like for
Yeah.
example the activities. We were short, you know, the last few days they were saying that we will be downgraded, and we were very happy because some of my friends are very excited to go diving, to go swimming, and then later they were saying that no, it was still not allowed to go diving and swimming. So this is a situation where you are in the island. It's all about activities. It's all about experiencing. Yeah. So
Okay. Yeah.
with all these activities not being allowed
Yeah.
to experience, to enjoy, then we are really affected.
Well, following up on that question, how would you plan then to keep Boracay in the consciousness of people around the world? I know there are a lot that people that will want to go the minute that Boracay is open, but how do we keep it in the consciousness of these travelers?
Now, if you see the Facebook post, if you are in the into the Facebook post of all these different people from Boracay, they
Yeah,
actually features the beautiful sunsets. You know, recently we have a lot of beautiful sunsets that is going on,
yeah,
and people were amazed and they were like, "Wow, I wish I'm there." And this is something that we are actually doing promotion using the social media because it's free, and promoting the destination. So perhaps other destination can also continue to promote and entice people to come back once the market is open.
okay,
If I,
yeah,
if I may add to that, Jojo,
yes, yes, please,
yeah,
please,
I think the virtual tours and the online and digital presence will really be very relevant now. If we keep on showing these to the public, it might not be happening in the immediate future, but definitely putting that in mind, we will be there in the bucket list and the place to consider when the travels are made available. And if I may add about the question on the pricing, while this is very dependent on the management per hotel, but on I can say this for the group what we're handling for Mega World Hotels. I don't think increasing the prices would be a good way to go about things now, while people are really trying to put finances are difficult for everybody, and how do we entice them with price hike? I don't think that's going to be the way to go. So we are looking at really putting in more value to whatever we used to offer. There has to be more than that. And if you see the new norms of each hotel, we are also doing things that are not used to be done. For example, the cleanup may not have to be done on a daily basis. So you save up a little on your manpower cost by doing that, because you can agree to really put it out in the open that cleanup will really be done once the guest checks out. So to minimize the interaction, then you can cover the cost of your PPEs, of your masks, of all the things that you have to put in place in the new norm and the new reality. These are things that you want to offset to make sure that the price ranges are still viable. In fact, this is the time to even make it really more attractive, to make sure that the locals really consider, because Boracay, as it is, if you look at the posts of people from there, I for myself have not seen Boracay New Coast as beautiful as it is now, because it has rested, it has fully rested, and the shore is really beautiful. And I have to agree with Peter, the sunset is just the best.
Yeah. As a tour operator, I'm very happy to find out all your sentiments with regard to the rates.
Yeah.
But yeah, just as a as a part of our trivia, in Zoom we have the virtual backgrounds, and it seems that Philippine virtual backgrounds are in the top 10 as far as the favorites of people who are using the virtual background. So I see Director Helen raising her hand. Yes, Director Helen, please.
Yeah, I would just like to put things straight now and in perspective. The 2023 year timeline is the timeline of our planning. But I am in no position to say whether the COVID will stop somewhere soon or far enough.
Yes.
It is just the planning stage for it, and we are planning up to 2023. And with regard to the virtual thing that we have been mentioning, I would like that my region would be top of the mind when the new normal, or the whatever will be the normal thing that will happen favorable to travel by a few months from now or next year. I just want to sustain that top of the mind positioning for Western Visayas destinations in the mind of the world, although we don't have the warm bodies yet as an immediate result of that. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's another question for you, RD Helen. No? We have a question from Richelle Cobar. She says, "Is DOT 6 able to share materials that can the region share material that we can use in our continuous efforts to keep our tourism clients engaged, such as well, you mentioned the virtual tours, infographics, which we intend to share in our in our sales and marketing channels in our respective company website." So
Yes,
they're
yes,
asking basically for information that they can
yes. We
share.
have we have a lot of materials to share. Just give us the address, the link, and we are going to share it with all of you in the
Okay.
travel trade sector. Thank you.
Okay. Um, I'll go back to Edwin on this question. No, um, like I mentioned earlier, we've gone through a lot in the last few years. Um, Let me ask you something. How has the closure and the pandemic, how has it taught Boracay to be strong or to be resilient? What makes Boracay one of the tougher destinations now as far as outlook is concerned?
Well, during the closure, it's we know that it's a closure for 6 months, no, and after 6 months, we know it also that we're going to open at the same time. The market is there on standby. That's during the closure, and in fact, during the closure is also the white beach, so clean and blue, no.
Yeah.
and our people are so eager to go to Boracay at that time, you know.
Yeah.
And so some of the hotels were 100% occupancy, even us, no. And then some are still gaining from that point of view, no. But with this pandemic, there's really a difference because, as what Director Helen was saying, we don't know when it will stop. Not unless as early as now or by next year or by the next 2 years, we can find a vaccine with all these pharmaceutical big pharmaceutical companies. We can create a vaccine. But now with the common factor of it, if you go here in Boracay when it's just when you can travel already, you will find or the beach is so perfect if you see there because no one can swim right now, no, and no one even can jog at the beach, you know.
Mm.
But there are some few jogging in the morning, one or two, but definitely the swimming is not allowed by the governor and the mayor. So the common factor is that the white beach is so beautiful, it's so blue, it's so crystal clear. The white sand are so crystal also once the sun drops there. Uh, it's like a diamond, no, in your eye. So that's the common factor of it. Well, the only difference that now is that, well, you can see that the beaches there's no people really. Few people are just doing their jogging, but definitely swimming is not allowed. So in fact, we were so also amazed, no, with this thing that happened in the island, especially the fisher folk when they catch fish. My God, the huge bunch of different types of fish that they can catch, and some of the fish and some of the SB member are even giving it to the people here in the island what they catch. These are the factors that between the difference of the two. And one thing more regarding the cost that you're mentioning to me, no, I don't know, director, if you can also include this, no, just like in other countries, in other just like the airline companies, which part of our group, no, or tourism industry, uh, they're suggesting also because they're also acquiring losses. So they were suggesting with the government if they can, if once things goes normal and people can travel already, one thing that they're requesting is also like the rights landing fee and the takeoff fee will be waived for the meantime for such certain of months, so they can just recover. These are just a sample that things that I heard. No? On the business side, on the tourism industry and other establishment, can we also have this something like a tax amnesty or a tax relief once things will be online, which be part of your program that you have presented to us? So, in other words, that it will also help the business establishment in terms of tourism sector, the losses that we gain during this pandemic. I don't know if we can include that in the proposal that you have presented to us, Director. I hope so.
Edwin, the matter of tax reprieve or tax holidays are not the concern main mandate of the Department of Tourism, but we can do something, come up with a position paper together
Yes,
with the private sector, so we can endorse to the Department of Finance, particularly the BIR. Thank you.
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You,
Yeah, Edwin, if I may answer you with regard to your last two concerns. Last April 4, the Tourism Congress submitted a position paper to the Department of Tourism, which includes what you just mentioned, no? The landing fees, the parking fees for airlines, as well as the possibility of tax breaks or at least more time for us to be able
recover.
to pay, along with other things, moratoriums on rent, utilities, and so forth. And it was already received by the DOT. I will send you a copy of that letter later and the response of the DOT. In some sense, a lot of those concerns have already been addressed, and we will just continue to ask for extensions on some of the concessions given to us, owing to the fact that tourism is still maybe months away, hopefully, knock on wood, but we're still a few months away from operation. So, uh, we would like to reassure you that all of these things have already been discussed, and we have sent recommendations to the IATF through the Department of Tourism.
Uh,
So
Joe, please send me a copy of it so we can
yeah,
discuss it also to the
sure.
stakeholders of the island and to the members of the BFI, because that is their major number one question. They keep on nagging me yesterday, GM, you have
Uh,
to, President, you have to ask this question to them.
yes,
So,
yes,
so
definitely.
we can share information also in the business sector here in the island of Boracay.
Yes, we will do that. Sorry, that was just an aside. No, I'm
Uh,
supposed to be moderating, not answering, but I wanted to answer that question.
yeah, sure, sure.
Um, yeah, maybe Cleo, what is the biggest takeaway of Iloilo in this time of the pandemic?
I would have to say we were so focused in the past years and really trying to market the place as a premier MICE destination. I would say that what we experienced last year is a pertinent experience to prepare ourselves for now. Because what happened was a very good start of synergy. Although there has been efforts throughout the years, but last year there was a strong collaboration of everybody. And if that did not come in fluidly last year, it would have been difficult because to survive the pandemic now, because what you see in Iloilo now is really an outpour of support from the business sector. We know that everyone's taking a hit on this financially and with revenue not coming in, but you will see how eager these businessmen are putting in support to the local government to be able to give something extra to the frontliners and not just to the ones working the the COVID-19, but also to the constituents who have lesser and who are more deprived in the community. There has been a lot of collaboration, a lot of programs have been put into place, and the relationship built is definitely that preparation for the survival today.
Okay, thank you very much, Cleo. Okay, before we go to our final statements, there is just one common question that's been coming out, and if I may take off my moderator hat and put on my TCP hat, is that people have been asking what are the timelines for the reopening of domestic and international travel, which is understandably something that we are all concerned about. Um, what I've said in past webinars and in past sessions that I have been attending is that the virus will dictate when all of these things will happen. We cannot put a certain date as to when, we cannot put an exact date, but the numbers and science will be the one to tell us when we can safely travel again. And if we also remember, especially for domestic travel, is that the LGUs and the provincial governments have also implemented their own lockdown rules, which prevents airlines from coming in or going out. And until such time that all these destinations start to slowly open up, we cannot give an exact date, because again, I assume that the LGUs and the provincials are also using the numbers and science as their basis for when to open. Same thing for the international market is that yes, we can reopen our airports, but what are the travel restrictions from our markets from abroad? Are they allowing people to travel? For example, in Australia, the Prime Minister has already mentioned that international travel will not happen for quite some time. And if we do start doing international travel, it would be something akin to having travel corridors, let's say between Australia and New Zealand, as an example, where you can limit the flow of traffic. And what we are thinking of doing now, as soon as practicable, is doing an ASEAN corridor, wherein travel will be between ASEAN countries in the beginning. But uh, just to be realistic, that will still be a few months away, given where we are as far as the pandemic is concerned. So, yeah, I hope that sort of answers the question as to when we can expect tourists to come. Again, I apologize if I have to take off my moderator hat and put on my TCP cap, but uh, I felt that it was something that I needed to answer. So,
You're
okay.
definitely
So
with us, Jojo.
yeah.
You're,
Okay. So yeah, we're an hour into it now, and I think it's time for us to wrap up. For our audience, we will forward your questions to our speakers, and they can also see it through our website, through our Facebook page. So they can also choose to answer you directly if you have any questions to any of our speakers. So now I would like to give the opportunity to our guests this morning to give their final statements, starting with the Director Helen, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. And it's so nice to see Cleo, Edwin, and Peter, and you, Jojo, on this platform. And all I have to do is let's all keep safe. And the primary concern of the Department of Tourism, aside from the survival of this sector, is of course the survival of our people, 8 million of them, resident population. And we miss the future, we will be missing the 5 million more in tourist arrivals this year. But what is important is everybody is so aligned in keeping our country safe and sound and survive this pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director Helen. As usual, a pleasure to see you. Hopefully, we can meet each other in person again soon. Okay, Leo, final statements, please.
Jojo, indulge me to this. I'd like to share something from the scripture, Jeremiah 29:11. For
Mm.
I know the plans I have for you, and these are plans for good and not disaster, to give you future and hope. I think we all can hang on to that, whether in business or in a personal struggle. It hasn't been the easiest of a journey for everybody, but if we ourselves to Him, I think we will have lesser complaints. We will be more compassionate. We will have empathy to those who are struggling more. And moving forward, we will definitely just be one because we have more heart for everybody. And looking forward to the rise of the tourism industry in Western Visayas.
Thank you, Cleo. Very, very inspiring words from the scripture, and that's a passage that we've been hearing a lot lately, and we have to trust. Thank you very much. And again, we hope to be able to become part of the recovery of not only Iloilo but of the whole region. So rest assured, we will be there to stand up with you when the time comes. Partner Edwin,
Yeah.
your final statements, please.
Well, first of all these uh, challenges of life and all of these things that is happening right now, there's always an answer. And we have to have more faith and hope that we can find these answers sooner or later. And so we can go back to our normal life. As we all know, part of our Filipino culture to be side by side. And all of us are doing our best to achieve what we have lost and what to achieve again another new new direction of life, which I think and which I hope it will be a better life than before. So I know that Almighty our God is always on us, looking at us, upon us, and He will always guide us. You know? He will always guide us. What will be the next endeavor or the next direction or the next mission that we have to fulfill just to overcome this new thing that was happened to us. Because I don't want to call it pandemic. No, for me it's too tedious to call it pandemic. But we know it's really pandemic. No, but it's a matter of thing that's it's a challenge to our life that we can really overcome this as soon as possible with the help of the Almighty, with the help of all the geniuses of the world, especially working these big pharmaceutical companies, and with the help of our government, our president, and our mayors and our governors. And I do know that we will overcome this thing, and let's have a good life ahead of us.
I agree with you, partner. Let's have a good life. Let's continue to live. There is always light at the end of the tunnel. Di ba nga?
Yes.
Finally, brother Peter, uh, what do you want to say to us?
Well, I've been living in the Philippines for many years, and what I see in Filipinos is they have a very strong heart. So, in whatever circumstances that we are presently going through, we have faith in God, and we believe that we can go through. Everything happened for a reason, and I believe that this pandemic will end very, very soon. God bless us, and God bless the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Brother, hope to see you soon. Been a long time. So, with that, we would like to thank all our viewers for being here today. We hope you found today's session to be informative and to be of value to you. Uh, Before we go, I'd just like to also say that let's keep on working, let's keep on holding on. Again, no, as I mentioned before in other webinars, my mantra is that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and I believe that there is light at the end of this tunnel. We just have to stand fast and hold together. So with that, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat, to our speakers, to Xlink, Orly, and Jay.
Thank you.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat, and we'll see you in the next TCP webinar. Good morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Oh,
Cleo. Bye, Peter.
thank
Bye,
you.
Edwin, Jojo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Stay safe.
Okay.